The wooden gavel slammed against the block, its sharp crack echoing through the silent courtroom. Every eye was on me. A little girl. Small legs dangling from the witness chair, hands trembling in my lap. I was supposed to tell the truth, but my truth was heavier than my chest could hold. And then, my dog, Maximum. My loyal German shepherd, sitting quietly by the bench, his golden eyes locked on mine. To everyone else, he was just a service dog allowed inside because I was too afraid to testify without him. But to me, he was my protector, my best friend, the only one who knew the secret I was too scared to say aloud. I gave him a signal. A tiny one. A movement so slight no one else noticed. But Max did. His ears pricked forward, his body stiffened, and suddenly, everything stopped. The judge raised a hand. Wait. Something's happening here. And just like that, the courtroom changed forever. My name is Layla. I was only 11 years old the day the courtroom became my stage, my battlefield, my nightmare. The walls were so high they made me feel small, like the truth would get swallowed before it ever left my lips. Grown-ups filled the room, lawyers with sharp voices, jurors with cold eyes, a judge with a face I couldn't read. And then there was him. The man on trial. My stepfather. The one who was supposed to protect me but instead shattered my childhood. He sat there in his suit, looking calm, almost smug, like he was sure no one would believe a little girl over him. My heart pounded so loud it drowned out the attorney's questions. Layla, the prosecutor said gently, can you tell the court what happened? My throat locked. Words wouldn't come. I looked down at my shoes, twisting my fingers together. I could feel his eyes on me, burning holes in my skin. That's when I felt the warmth beside me. Maximum. His steady breathing. His soft fur brushing against my leg. Max knew. He always knew when I was scared. And he always knew what I meant, even when I couldn't say it out loud. We had our own language. Our own secret signals. I gave him one now. Just the slightest curl of my fingers by my side. It was our sign for danger. Max's body shifted instantly. He rose, ears straight, eyes fixed, not on me, but on my stepfather. A low growl rumbled from his chest, deep and steady, shaking the silence of the room. Gasps filled the air. The judge's gavel hit again. Order in the court, he barked. But his eyes weren't on me anymore. They were on Maximum. And Max wasn't moving. He was pointing, with his body, his instinct, his loyalty, straight at the man who thought he could get away with everything. The judge leaned forward slowly. Someone bring that dog closer. Now. And in that moment, I realized, Max had just spoken the truth for me. Max's growl wasn't just noise. It was truth spoken in a language only he and I fully understood. His body pressed forward, his eyes sharp and unblinking, locked on my stepfather like he was ready to leap across the courtroom if he had to. Bailiff, the judge said, his voice low but firm. Bring that animal forward. The bailiff hesitated. Your Honor, with respect, he's trained to stay beside. I said bring him forward. The whole room was tense, like the air had thickened. The jurors shifted in their seats, leaning in. The defense lawyer looked rattled, whispering urgently to my stepfather. But my stepfather, he just sat there, jaw clenched, his fake calm slipping. His eyes flickered. He knew. Max padded forward, slow and deliberate, every step echoing against the polished floor. His nails clicked lightly, but it sounded louder than anything in the room. He stopped right in front of the defense table, his tail stiff, his gaze locked. Then he barked. Once. A sound so sharp it made the woman at the jury box jump. My stepfather flinched. The judge's eyebrows rose. "That's not random," he muttered. His gaze swung back to me. "Layla, did you just give him a command?" I swallowed hard, my hands trembling. "No, Your Honor," I whispered. That's what he does when he recognizes danger." The courtroom broke into whispers. My stepfather's lawyer jumped up. "Objection, Your Honor. This is highly irregular. A dog cannot be considered a witness." But the judge wasn't looking at him anymore. He was looking at me. "Layla," he said, his voice softer now, "you signaled him before, didn't you?" I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. "Yes." Because I was scared to say it out loud. But Max knows me. He knows when I'm telling the truth, even when I can't say it. Silence. The judge leaned back in his chair, studying me, then the dog, then my stepfather. The gavel didn't strike this time. Instead, he said something I'll never forget. "Proceed. But this court will not ignore the reaction of this animal." My stepfather shifted uncomfortably. His perfect mask was cracking. For the first time, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Not power. Not control. Fear. And for the first time, I felt something too. Not just fear, but hope. Because Max and I weren't alone anymore. The defense attorney's voice cut through the courtroom like a knife. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let us not be swayed by theatrics. This is a courtroom, not a circus. A child's nervous gestures and a dog's growl are not evidence." He paced in front of the jury box, chin high, words dripping with confidence. "My client, Mr. Harris, is an upstanding member of the community. You've heard no solid proof of these allegations, only the frightened words of a child who may be confused." Confused. That word burned in my chest. I wasn't confused. I was terrified. And for a long time, I'd been silent. But not anymore. The prosecutor leaned toward me. "Layla, can you tell us why Max reacted the way he did?" I glanced at Max, who sat by my feet now, calm but watchful. His steady eyes gave me courage. "He reacted," I said slowly, my voice trembling, "because he recognizes when I'm scared of someone. He's trained to sense it. And he knows who hurt me." Gasps rippled through the room. The jurors shifted, exchanging uneasy glances. The defense attorney smirked. "Trained, you say? Convenient. Let's put this theory to the test." He turned sharply to the judge. "Your Honor, with permission, may I approach the witness?" The judge hesitated, then nodded. "Carefully." The attorney walked toward me, slow and deliberate, his shoes echoing. He leaned in, lowering his voice. "Layla, isn't it true that you're just scared because your stepfather disciplined you like any good parent would? Isn't it possible you've misunderstood?" My stomach knotted. His words twisted the truth, made it sound smaller, weaker. I shrank back in the chair, unable to answer. Then Max stood. He moved between us, his body firm, protective, his ears flat, eyes sharp. A deep growl vibrated from his chest, louder this time, filling the silence. The attorney froze, his face paling. He lifted his hand slightly. "Why, Your Honor, I—" "Step back, counselor," the judge ordered. The attorney did. Quickly. But Max didn't stop. He wasn't just growling at the lawyer. His gaze had shifted. Past him. Straight at my stepfather. And then it happened. As the room watched, my stepfather twitched. His calm mask cracked completely. He shifted in his seat, muttering something under his breath. His hand clenched into a fist. The prosecutor caught it. Your Honor, let the record show the defendant is visibly agitated by the presence of this child and her dog. The judge's gavel slammed down. Noted. And I'll note something else. This is the first time I've seen the defendant lose composure. Continue. The jury was watching him now. Really watching. And for the first time, I wasn't the one on trial. He was. The tension in the courtroom was so thick you could almost hear hearts pounding. My stepfather's perfect composure was crumbling, piece by piece. But still, he sat there, jaw tight, pretending to be calm, pretending to be innocent. The defense attorney straightened his tie, trying to recover. Ladies and gentlemen, he said quickly, this is nothing more than coincidence. A dog's reaction proves nothing. We should focus on facts, not instincts. But Max wasn't finished. He tugged suddenly at the leash in my hand, pulling toward the defense table. At first, I thought he was just restless, but then his nose dropped to the ground. He sniffed. His tail stiffened. His whole body leaned forward with urgency. The bailiff stepped closer. Your Honor, the dog's reacting to something. Allow him, the judge said, his tone unusually sharp. I want to see this. Max moved quickly, circling the defense table. He stopped by my stepfather's leather briefcase, the one he had carried into the courtroom every single day of the trial. Max pawed at it, growling, then barked so loud it made everyone in the front row flinch. What is this? The prosecutor demanded. Open that bag. The defense attorney shot up. Objection. That is private property. Overruled, the judge snapped. Open it. Now. All eyes locked on my stepfather as the bailiff bent down, unlatched the briefcase, and pulled it open. Papers spilled out, but that wasn't what froze the room. Inside, wrapped in a folded piece of cloth, was a small silver bracelet. My bracelet. The one I'd told everyone had gone missing months ago. The one I'd cried about because it was the last gift my real dad ever gave me before he died. I gasped. That's mine. My voice shook, but it carried through the courtroom. He told me I lost it. He took it from me. The jury erupted in murmurs. The prosecutor stepped forward, lifting the bracelet carefully. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just a trinket. This is corroboration. This child has testified that the defendant took things from her, controlled her, manipulated her. And here, hidden in his personal belongings, is proof. My stepfather's face turned red. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His mask had shattered completely. The judge slammed the gavel. Order! Order in the court. But there was no order anymore. Everyone had seen it, the truth clawing its way into the light, led there by a German shepherd who refused to be ignored. Max sat back on his haunches, quiet now, as if to say, there. I showed you. Now do the rest. And for the first time, I saw the jurors look at me not with doubt, but with belief. The bracelet glimmered in the prosecutor's hand, tiny but heavy with truth. My stepfather stared at it, his face pale, his jaw tight. For weeks he had smirked through every accusation, sitting like a king untouchable on his throne. But now, his mask was cracking. The prosecutor's voice rang out. Mr. Harris, care to explain why this child's missing bracelet was found in your possession? The defense attorney stammered. It proves nothing. Anyone could have placed it there. Enough, the judge snapped, slamming the gavel. His eyes bored into my stepfather. Answer the question. The room was so quiet I could hear the hum of the ceiling fan. My stepfather opened his mouth, But no sound came. His hands clenched on the table. His chest heaved. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a fury I knew too well. But then Max stood again. His growl rose, deep and steady, vibrating through the silence. He didn't lunge. He didn't bark. He just stared at my stepfather, unflinching, the way truth stares at lies until they collapse. And collapse he did. I didn't mean to. The words burst out of him, ragged and desperate. She was lying, she was always lying, but she wouldn't listen, she needed to be taught. The courtroom erupted. Gasps, shouts, jurors covering their mouths. The prosecutor's voice cut through it all, firm and cold. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just heard the defendant confess. No, my stepfather shouted, lunging up from his chair. But the bailiffs were faster. They pinned him down as he struggled, his words tumbling into chaos. She ruined me. She ruined everything. But no one was listening anymore. The jury's faces were set. The judge's gavel came down like thunder. Enough. Order. I sat frozen in the witness chair, my little hands gripping the edge so tight my knuckles turned white. My heart pounded, not with fear this time, but with release. Because it was over. The judge leaned forward, his voice steady and heavy. This court will recess for deliberation. But let me say this, what we witnessed today was not ordinary. The bond between this child and her service animal has spoken louder than any argument. And the truth has been heard. Tears blurred my vision. I dropped to my knees and wrapped my arms around Max's neck, burying my face in his fur. He licked my cheeks softly, his tail finally wagging, as if he knew he had won this battle for me. For us. And in that moment, I realized something. Sometimes courage doesn't roar. Sometimes, it growls. The jury was out for hours. To me, it felt like days. I sat in the hallway of the courthouse, my knees pulled up to my chest, Max curled protectively beside me. Every time someone walked past, his ears flicked, his nose twitching, like he was reminding me, I'm here. You're safe. When the bailiff finally opened the doors and called us back in, my legs trembled. I held Max's leash tight, letting him guide me forward. The courtroom was full again, faces watching, whispers filling the air. My stepfather sat hunched at the defense table, his confidence drained, his eyes dark with defeat. All rise, the bailiff said. The jury filed in, faces unreadable. My heart thumped like a drum. The foreman stood. We, the jury, find the defendant. He paused, the silence stretching. Guilty on all counts. The words hit me like sunlight after a long storm. I didn't realize I was crying until I felt Max's tongue swipe my cheek. The tears kept coming, but they weren't heavy anymore. They were light, freeing. The courtroom broke into murmurs, some clapping softly despite the judge's attempts at order. The gavel struck. The defendant is hereby remanded into custody. This court thanks the bravery of one very young witness and her extraordinary companion. Extraordinary companion. I looked down at Max, who wagged his tail once, then rested his head on my lap like he already knew we had one. He hadn't just been my comfort. He had been my voice when mine was too small. He had carried truth in his instincts when no one else believed me. As the bailiffs dragged my stepfather away, I felt something lift off my chest. The fear that had lived there for so long was gone. When we stepped outside, the sun was shining. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, but I didn't care. I buried my face in Max's fur and whispered, "We did it, boy. We're free." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. Because courage doesn't always wear a robe or sit behind a bench. Sometimes, courage has 4 legs, a wagging tail, and eyes that never stop believing in you. Max had given me back my voice. And now, my life was mine again.